So, hi, Marcus, you cheated. You already said via email or wrote via email that your first computer was C64. Is it
Yes,
right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the question to you is how you got the computer and what was your first line or what you did with it the first day?
Okay. Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me on your podcast. It's a pleasure for me. Yeah, I started with the C64 when I was about 15 years old, but I started with gaming only for
Okay.
2 years.
Which games?
Yeah, mostly sports games like summer games and winter games and so on.
Hey,
This
this
was
is where
my
you have
favorite.
to move the joystick back and forth very fast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And of course, soccer, because I'm a big soccer fan, and I played, many hours, many days playing soccer, and I had the vision to write a better soccer game,
Oh,
but I never realized it.
okay. So I thought you are
Unfortunately.
reasonable and you are a soccer fan. So this is
Yes.
interesting. And
Yeah.
so you got the C64 and you wanted to write a soccer game with 15. So what was your first line of code?
Yeah. I didn't know that the program Hello World, so for me it didn't exist. So the first line of code was a basic program I typed from the book. So and I tried to find out how basic language works, but it was very difficult for me. But then I was very lucky. I had a friend, and he taught me everything I have to know about BASIC. And some years later, we wrote the first assembler programs, and this was very exciting for me. And from that moment on, I never played again. So since today, I'm not a gamer, so I only tried to write programs, and so
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I came
How
to
old were
Java.
you with the first program you wrote?
Yeah, when I was 70 years,
17, okay.
16 or 17.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And why you did it?
Um. Yeah. Why? This is a good question. I wanted to know how the computer works and how can I write games in for my computer. And
Ah,
I
okay.
thought
Mm-hmm.
it should be very easy, but it was not easy for me.
Yeah.
And this was the reason why I tried out some basic stuff. But we all know basic was not fast enough. And then
Okay.
yeah, my
But your
friend.
friend taught you
Yeah.
assembler, so just for programming. So he was also a game developer.
No. He was only a hobby programmer, so
Mm-hmm.
like I was then.
Mm-hmm.
And but he was keen on programming all the day until the night, and we spent a lot of weeks in front of our computers
Mm-hmm.
hacking some code.
Was game or what was it?
Only functions, only trying to figure out how the machine works, how the processor works, and we were not able to write games. We were not good enough.
Yeah, that's actually remarkable. So okay,
Yeah.
and then you had the C64. What was your own next, or have you accomplished something significant on C64? So were you able, to write something, I don't know, usable?
Only for me personally.
Yeah, what you did? Well,
Managing some addresses, and that was all. I was very keen on graphic stuff, and this was very difficult on the C64.
yeah, this is
So
actually a recurring scheme. So I think the Ariane Times also started with databases on his computer. He was
okay.
Commodore 500 or something.
Yeah.
And I remember did something with databases. So seems like a common scheme how to start a program. Yeah, and
Yeah.
probably the Larry Ellison from Oracle also started, with database.
Yeah,
address book.
great.
I don't know, just an idea.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the
Very good.
next, you sticked with C64, or was it you bought the next machine, or what was the story behind?
Yeah, then the next machine was a PC, and this was very boring to program or to do anything on a PC.
Mhm.
But
Have you bought the PC by yourself, or your parents did it, or?
I bought it by myself.
Cool.
Yeah, because another friend told me don't use an Amiga or an Apple computer because the business is all done by a PC world, and so this was the reason why I bought a PC and tried to program on a PC. But yeah, it was a little bit more difficult programming assembler programs on a PC. Yeah, instead of C64. And this was the reason why I tried out to program with C, and then I used Visual Basic and so on.
Hey, cool.
Yeah, and this was my history. And my friend who teach me Basic and assembler, he learned Java, and he told me all the day Java is the best program language. You have now to switch over to Java, and yeah, this was the reason why I tried out Java.
Cool.
And then,
so your friend is actually was twice right.
yeah,
Right. The first time PC really is used in the business a lot, and Java is the best programming language. So he was
yeah,
a very wise man.
yeah, he was. He is. He still is.
Was it 286 or your first PC? You remember that? 486 or
oh my
Pentium?
God.
I think Pentium already.
It was a Pentium 2.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
kept that. So this is remarkable. So you started with C64 and then you jumped over to Pentium.
Yeah, yes.
So what I did, I started with ZX Spectrum. It's like similar to C64.
Oh, okay.
But my first PC was 8086. And then I used it a lot. And then the next one was Pentium.
Okay. And now I remember it was a Pentium 1. It was introduced at CeBIT.
Yeah.
It was the first time I was at CeBIT.
Why you were at CeBIT?
Why? Yeah, it was very exciting to be at the largest computer trade fair in the world, and to see all the new things, all the new stuff. And 20 or 30 years ago, there were all the important companies that were there, and Bill Gates were there with a keynote and so on. And all the companies introduced their new things at CeBIT, especially at CeBIT. So
yeah, the CeBIT is in Hanover, and what was remarkable about the CeBIT, there is a highway to the CeBIT. What I remember back then was like in the morning, the whole highway or most of the lanes but one went direction to CeBIT, so they changed the direction of the highway.
Right.
And in the evening, they do the reverse, which is remarkable itself, right?
Yeah.
This was a huge. I was also there back then, also in Pentium time, and the reason I was there, we have to negotiate some contracts with IBM WebSphere or Java Web Server, something with business. I'm working as a freelancer for a company, so I also spent some time at CeBIT. And I also remember it was really, it was very impressive.
Yeah, it was a great time. It was very exciting, and yeah.
But what drove you? You were from you still were you from Bavarian Forest back then, where you grew up?
Not in the Bavarian Forest, but next to the Bavarian Forest. It's a town called Weiden. It's near to Nuremberg.
And you grew up
Munich.
in Weiden?
Yeah.
And but all your colleagues were like, this is like a small Silicon Valley, or what's the deal with that? So how someone from Weiden get the idea to go to CeBIT just to meet Bill Gates? So it was like your friends, or was it just you, or what's the story behind?
Yeah, I had friends who were some years older than I was.
Okay.
And they were also programmers, and they wanted nothing to do but programming all the day. So they told me, "Hey, come on, we go to CeBIT. What are you doing today? We go to CeBIT, and then That was great. Yeah, it was a great time, and there I had the first ideas I had on the Seabit when I was walking through the exhibition halls, and my dream was to come back to Seabit one time, to have my own company, my own booth there, and my own products, whatever what it was. But this was my dream.
And you achieved that?
Yeah, we started a company then in 2000. We started with a web design software based on a Java applet technology. It's really crazy. And 2 years ago, 2 years later, then we had our first exhibition at Systems in Munich.
Yes.
And we sold so many programs there, so many copies, that we are able to go to Cebit 6 months later, and then we built up our own booth there. We improved everything. We only had the booth and no idea how to set up a Cebit booth there. So everything was done by ourselves.
Oh, okay.
And it was in the opposite of Sun Microsystem. This was very great.
One question about the software. What was the name of the company of your software back then?
It's called XDev Software.
Always?
Yeah, it's still existing, this company.
Yeah, but back then the design shop was also the name XDev?
No, the design software is called XPage.
XPage. Because what I remember, the systems, I was also in the systems back then, and there was a huge booth with design software, and this was called somehow Cappuccino or something. Do you remember that? It was an applet based. It was a huge software. They had really nice design. It was like, brownish. And there was a multi-level booth at T-Systems, applet-based Cappuccino e-commerce software, what I remember.
Okay. I remember the name, the product exists with this name, but...
okay, I thought you were this, It's like, okay.
No, unfortunately, no. We had our booth was a little bit smaller.
So wait a second. So now, what I understand is, you started with C64. Then you, the next was Pentium 1. You started to hack some assembler on C, and then your colleague said, we have to go to Cbit. You were inspired by the Cbit, went back, and then you started hacking immediately with something, or what was the the road to your first booth at Systems?
We developed this web design software. This was our first idea we had. Because,
right after the Cbit?
It was before the Cbit. It was about
okay.
2 years before, and this was the reason why we founded the company, because web designing was always a pain in the ass when you have to optimize your websites for the Netscape and for the Internet Explorer and so on. And then we had the idea, if we would create websites based on the Java applet, then you only have to develop your website once, and it runs in all browsers. So platform independent web design. This was the idea, and in 2000 we had the Java plugin even in the Internet Explorer, and so this was the idea. Building a web design software where you can create websites running in every browser independently.
So okay, so with your PC, with the Pentium 1, you wrote the first line of Java, right?
Yeah.
And then what happened? I mean, you became better and better. So you started with applets or with the backend software, or I'm just interested to know how you got into your first company.
Yeah, it was I wasn't the programmer of this program. My friends were very better than I was, and I had the idea, and I founded the company, and there was the salesman, the sales guy, responsible for our business, and so I hadn't the time enough to join to programming to write this first product.
Okay.
So this was why I concentrated on business. And
so you were the Steve Jobs.
I tried to become one.
Okay.
A small one, yeah.
So small jobs.
Yeah.
Perfect. So and
I was lucky. I was very lucky to have a job. So
okay, Steve Jobs with a job.
yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
And then did CeBIT came, and was it also successful? Your exhibition of your software?
Yeah, it was for us was very successful because we were able to finance all with selling our products. So we didn't need venture capital. It was anyhow, it was very difficult in the year 2000 and 2001 after the stock market crashed to get venture capital for software. So it was not possible. So we had to finance everything completely from the cash flow, and I was responsible for making that money, which is necessary to pay all the guys who are programming. And it was very hard time because German companies with software products for the internet, they were not they had not the standing than today.
Mm-hmm.
So every cool stuff has to come from the Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And so we competed against Microsoft with their front page and Macromedia with the Dreamweaver and so on, and Adobe with GoLive. This was very difficult. Then we had the idea. We write some additional toolings that you are able to build up online shops and some database applications on top of your website.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea came up to write a kind of like a 4GL Java development environment, similar to Visual Basic or similar to Fox Pro and so on.
But it's incredible. I mean, was like a lot of work, right?
Yeah, it is definitely, and because we had to write our own code editor with all the functions that is needed, syntax highlighting and code completion. And
what is the name? What was the name of your software?
It was the name was XDev.
This is remarkable because until recently, I never heard about XDev before. So it's like we met, I would say, the first time 1 year ago or something. And it's like a parallel universe. This is why I'm asking so many questions, because this is like you did something remarkable. I never heard about that.
That's normal because it was a visual Java development environment, and it's when you try it out, then it's very similar to Visual Basic. A lot of people they told us, you had a very good copy of Visual Basic, but this is this was not accepted in the Java world, because the Java developers, they don't like to drag and drop their user interface. They want to write their own code, and they want to write testable code and so on. And the first GUI builders on the market, they created not very good code, and it was not accepted by professional Java developers. And this is the reason why it was so difficult to go in the market and grow in the market. And still today, 4GL developers love XDev because it's very easy to build up software based on Java. Because
so the XDev is you can still buy it, so it's still on the market.
You can, you can buy it. You can still buy it, but this is not the the main product anymore, because the XDev development environment bases on Java Swing, and what you develop is a Java Swing application, and unfortunately, Swing is kind of like deprecated, and if you want to write new programs you wouldn't choose Swing for your user interface. And this is the reason why we had to migrate all the stuff to a different technology, and we thought about JavaFX, but it wasn't clear how Oracle will continue the JavaFX developments. And then we decided we migrate all the stuff to Vaadin and to Eclipse, because we had always the problem that the 4GL developers, they loved XDev, but the Java developers in these teams, they mostly used Eclipse, and so it was not accepted by them to use a different development environment. So our idea
what
was,
you used before? You had your own, completely your own IDE before that, or was it based on NetBeans or IntelliJ?
This was our own development environment.
Okay.
Completely, XDev basis completely on our own platform.
Oh, these are crazy. So you built the whole IDE from scratch?
Yeah, right.
Wow.
This was a job. It was maybe 5 or 6 years work, and then we talked with some microsystems. They were interested in including it into Star Office. Because they searched something like Microsoft Access for Star Office, but unfortunately, it was not possible to integrate it, because then Oracle bought Sun, and we know the story. Yeah, then we migrated all the stuff to Eclipse, and we developed a Vaadin user interface builder. And
but what I'm interested right now. So you had already built your own IDE with your own ideas, and then you migrated to Eclipse. So I think you were not very satisfied by Eclipse the first time, right? Just gently asking,
No, it was the problem was we had a lot of Swing experts in our team, and then everything was SWT with Eclipse.
Yeah.
And this was a hard time, but this was not the problem. The GUI builder was finished about 6 or 8 months later.
When was it? 2000 and what?
This was 2013.
Oh, okay. So 5 years ago. So 6 years ago. So not
6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we are talking now about your current product, right? So
this is not this was the current product is Jetstream. It's called Jetstream, and it's a database engine, or it's more like a serialization technology.
But XDev still is on the market, so we are talking about this redesigning of the XDev to the current, let's say, architecture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and then the biggest problem we had was the database stuff, and this was the root of our idea. So database development in Java was for us extremely complicated, and also for our users, because we had all this JPA stuff and all these JPA tools in Eclipse, and in our perspective, it was horrible to work with it, or it is still until today horrible to work with it, because our users were able to create beautiful user interfaces in hours, and then to connect it to a database, it was not possible for them. And this is the reason why not much 4GL developers are able to switch over from their old legacy technology to Java, because it's really too complicated to create database stuff. And but they want to do database development all the time.
Mhm.
So why is it too complicated? We had the problem if you connect to a database and want to import your database metadata, then you get a lot of errors because Java only have some types,
Mhm.
some data types, but the databases have 20 or 30 data types, and the importer does not know how to map the data types. So you get the errors.
Which importer? I mean, importer from the legacy database to the new database, or did it importer from UI to database, or what do you mean by?
I mean, the importer from the JBoss Hibernate tools,
Okay.
for example. When you want to connect your Java program to a, let's say, MySQL database or to a Postgre, so then you can use this importer, and it's very cool because it imports the metadata from your tables and creates all the Java classes you need on the
Ah,
Java side.
you mean they are code generator? Like for instance,
Yeah.
it generates from the database the POJOs.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the problem you say that the database is richer than Java. So in database we have 30 types, and in Java we just have, let's say, 5.
Yes.
Okay.
And this was a huge problem for our users because they didn't know what to do now.
One question. Why the users had the database first? You know, usually if you start developing, you start with the UI and then the database comes. In your case, seems like the database was there.
Yeah, because our target groups were the 4GL developers, and they all have existing legacy applications.
Okay.
Mostly they have big applications with 500 or up to 3,000 forms and so on, and views. And this target group wants to migrate to Java immediately, but they are not able. So they're looking for visual tools working similar to 4GL, and we were able to give them a tool works like 4GL based on Java, where they can create easily user interfaces. But as soon as they want to connect to a table, then the horror begins.
Yeah, so this I understand right now. So the killer use case was there are existing databases in our larger companies that they cannot be changed, and the users without lots of, let's say, programming skills have to create user interfaces, and now how to connect both. And there were like code generators which were able to generate JPA code, but the problem was it was hard to connect the JPA entities with your user interface, right?
Yeah, right.
Perfect.
Exactly, yes. And this is for Java developers, this is normal. So Stack Overflow, you can find a lot of conversations about this date typing errors, and this is normal. And we told our community, if you want to switch over to Java, this is normal. But this is a good answer for a developer, but not for a businessman. So we were not. It was not accepted by this target group. And
before you proceed, Markus, are you a businessman or you understand Java code?
I understand Java code, but today I'm the sales guy and I'm a businessman.
I didn't know this. A question to you then: do you regret the decision? So, was it more fun to hack Java or assembly or basic, or is it more fun to be a businessman?
It's both. For me, it's both.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes a lot of fun to code all the day and nights and so on. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also exciting
to earn some money.
To earn. I have to earn money. This was always the problem.
Yeah. So, but money aside, let's say you would get, for our coding, incredible amount of money, and you get the same amount of money by talking to your clients. Now, what do you would choose?
This is difficult.
You see?
Both. Today, it's the same answer. I would like to do both because it's similar to that what you do personally. Yeah, you
Yeah.
are a great coder, and I think you love it to speak at the conferences and talk about the things you code and your
Yeah.
experience and so
Because I
on.
can verify my own ideas, Sometimes I
Yeah,
think I'm just crazy, but if I go to conference and talk about that, and the attendees love it, and then I get also positive feedback, so okay, then I'm on the right path. And then this is why, validation technique. Otherwise, I would spend time hacking, in my basement and
yeah,
had no idea whether I'm just crazy or, this is like why I'm doing this. But this was an interesting conversation. I always, if I have the chance, ask the question, by managers or prior coders to find out what I like. But it seems like in your case it was the right decision because I met you at Java 1 and you still enjoyed, the environment. So
yeah.
you really enjoyed it. Okay, so now back to tech.
Yes.
You wanted to solve how it's called, database impedance mismatch. I think this is the word for it. So it means your nice user interface doesn't connect well with the backend. And you started to develop your own database, which is unusual approach to the problem. And why you started with the development?
It was about 6 years ago. We had these problems with the JPA stuff in our development environment, and but we also had problems in real life projects where we had the teams with 4GL developers, with Java professionals and database developers, and in all these projects we were not able to include the database professionals, the database programmers, the SQL professionals into the Java stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They were not able, and so they were all disappointed. So we thought about what can we do, and we had a very huge project, and it was very necessary for us to solve this problem. And we always thought about how can we make database development much easier than today. And we had a prototype. And
Questions about the prototype.
Yeah.
If someone writes a prototype like this of a database, how you started? You started to write to abstract the file system, or you started with keeping the objects in memory? Have you started with the API, or how you started with the database, or your programmers or whoever? I would say, no, this is a really interesting problem. So you have now the impedance mismatch between user interface and database. And then you say, okay, now let's build a database. Now, know what?
Yeah.
What you did? I guess you started with the user interface. Interface. I guess, no, the interface between your POJOs and the database, I think, right? This was the first line of code, I guess. Or
these are two different things. For the Eclipse tooling, by the way, it's called RapidEclipse and it's free.
RapidEclipse, okay.
Yes, it's RapidEclipse. It's come from RapidEclipse.
Mm-hmm.
And we improved the JBoss Hibernate tools.
Sorry, but the RapidEclipse is not XDev.
It's developed by XDev.
XDev is the company and Rapid is the product. Okay.
Yeah, but it's open source. The entire framework is open source. So this is the reason why I the push and distributes codes to it since today. Mm-hmm. But most code is written by XDev, mm-hmm. and it's pushed by XDev. Yeah,
but the clients can buy support by you, right? Or what's the business model?
This is right. Yes, they buy support, or XDev helps making projects.
Or build extensions or something like this, right?
Yeah, extensions and customizing and doing the complicated stuff. Or sometimes the customers say, "Oh, we cannot do the development for ourselves. We want to outsource it." And so XDev is the service company who provides implementation and so on. Everything is necessary. And so we improved. First step was we improved the JBoss Hibernate tools. And today with RapidEclipse, you can import your database table from all supported databases, and there are no more data type errors. So it's automatically mapped to a useful data type. So this was the first step. Now RapidEclipse developers are able to connect to their databases, and they get no errors. All the annotations behind the scenes are created automatically.
Are JPA annotations or your annotations?
No, it's JPA annotations.
So what you did, you created a JPA provider, right? Or because if you are importing stuff from data, or you, wait a second, have you provided a JPA engine which persists the POJOs to the database?
No, this was not what we did. We only optimized the Hibernate importer.
Perfect. So you have like a wizard which generates the POJOs from database with the annotations and the types. Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, this was the first step, and the second problem we had was in our projects, as I told, that we were not able to integrate the SQL professionals into the Java teams because the JPA development was too complicated. Because the next problem they had was how to write queries in Java. It was the next problem then. So we teach them the APIs which are used in Java, for example, JPQL and the JPA criteria API and so on. And then we had the problem that SQL professionals want to write pure SQL code, but it's not database independent, and you have always the SQL strings in your Java code. It's not type safe. You cannot test it. It's always you have always a lot of problems with writing simple queries, and it was not accepted by our target group. Yeah. It was always the same problem. And then we developed JPSQL, which is an SQL dialect based on Xtext. And
okay. X is another German project. This is like from the MDA tool called, I forgot this. You know what's the name of Xtext? It was a very famous Eclipse-based code generator, right?
Yeah.
This was a German company who did it, and
Itemis.
Itemis, yeah, exactly. This was in Hamburg, yeah. and the code generator had another name before. Xtext is the language. You know how it is called? It was like MOF, right? From Eclipse, they built the meta model in Eclipse, and they were able to generate with Xtext with the template language. Okay, so interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, and with this JPA-SQL, now our users are able to write plain SQL, and behind the scenes, the code generator generates code based on JPA criteria API. So now it is very simple for SQL developers, to write queries. But then we had the next problem. For many use cases, the relational databases were not fast enough, and was still complicated to deal with Hibernate. Especially.
So what you did, you created your own Eclipse dialect, which understood JPSQL, which was parsed by the tooling, and with Xtend and Xtext, this generated the JPA query. So you had like a translation layer. And because of the Eclipse capability of understanding DSL, your users even got, I guess, code completion. So your tool could connect to a meta model or a database, and they know exactly what comes next, right?
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Right. Perfect. So now I got the idea. So what you had then is, this is actually interesting. So let's say from the semi-proprietary JPQL, you got behind the scenes a standard JPA QL.
Yes.
Very good. Interesting.
And it's also open source, so you can users can use it without RapidEclipse as
How
a
to find it?
standalone.
What's the name?
JPA SQL.
JPA SQL. Perfect. Okay, so what you did then? So we have now JPA, and we could run Eclipse Link or Hibernate to fetch the data, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right. Yeah, and then we had the next problem because the entire Hibernate programming was too complicated for our target group. So always dealing with objects which are attached or detached, and the Hibernate sessions and transactions and so on, it was very complicated for them. And we also thought, why has it to be so complicated? And I have to do things I won't do in Java, especially creating data models which are optimized for the database, flat data models. And I have to adapt all my entity classes to a special framework. I have dependencies, and I know you hate dependencies.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and we ask ourselves, the only thing we want to do is storing data. We can do everything in Java we want. We can write the fastest applications on the planet. Everything we need is Java. And only for storing data, everything gets extremely complicated. And we thought about a function, a simple data storing function for Java. This was our idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then we thought about, of course, serialization. Serialization actually is such a storing function for Java objects, which is very easy to use. It's very easy for any Java developer to use it. But the big problem with serialization is it's totally unsecure, and you only can store the entire object. You can load only the entire objects. You cannot make any updates or something like that. So you only can use it like a stupid blob store or so. And this is not the same as a database management system. So the idea was we need a serialization, but we need a completely new serialization. And this was redeveloped. And for us, it was necessary that this completely secure and that you can store any object with no dependencies, and that you are not have to adapt your Java classes to a data structure. The idea was
have you looked at the other solutions like Cryo or Fast Serializer, or
yes,
and are you comparable somehow with them, or?
I think it's always the same problem. They use XML or JSON, which is very slow, or the basis on the native Java serialization, which is completely insecure.
And what you are doing?
We developed a completely new serialization which works completely different. We do not transfer the code together with the data. We transfer only the data.
Okay.
This is one point. And
but it has to work like with bytecode enhancement or reflection, right?
No, it does not work with reflection, because then we have to transfer the code, and the code is executed automatically, and then we had all the same problems with as the native Java serialization has, which makes it unsecure.
So it works by the next possibility is the bytecode manipulation, or you are looking directly to JVM, Java agents.
Yes, this is what we do.
Okay.
we go more into deep. So then with this serialization, now we are able to write to build communications between clients and the server.
Okay.
And it works pretty well. And then we had the idea, now we can store the objects. So we can transfer only the diffs between in objects. So not the entire object, only maybe some references or so.
Yeah, and this is the hardest problem. So if you have like Hibernate or Eclipse Link, the diff calculation, what actually happened, is the hardest problem. And
yes,
I also was involved in such projects, and even harder is to recognize whether something was deleted, right? Because if you delete a link or object, you have still keep track somewhere that there was an object which was deleted. You cannot just delete it because the database will never notice that you deleted an object, right?
Yes. And and with this serialization, it's possible to transfer the diffs, and this works pretty well. And then we had the idea.
Is it open source?
It is not open source because the company is founded or will be founded in February.
Oh,
and then we get some venture capital now.
Cool.
And then we decide finally the business model. And
okay.
It's not clear if we can open source it, but what is for sure, we can provide a free versions of both technology for serialization and for the storage technology also.
And what is the name of the serializer? You have a funky name?
Not yet. It's a project name. It's boring. It's called Jetstream Serializer.
Okay. Jetstream Serializer. Okay. And then you have the second part is the database, right?
The second part is then it was possible to serialize objects and send it to a client, and the next step was now to store data in a file in a simple file storage.
So you are assuming that the serializer is on the client because it's inside Eclipse, or is it a GWT based client or Vaadin based client, right?
No. No, this is it's only an API. It's only a Java API where you can use in any Java in any Java program. You can download it via Maven. So this is not. This has no user interface and no dependencies to Eclipse. Actually, it has.
I would get a server. Let's say I'm from the Java E world, so I would get a Java E server, load your library, expose your library via REST. So your client is my server, and my server will use your database, and I will store POJOs. Your serializer will compute the diffs and send it to your database, and your database will store the diffs, right?
Yes, but it works different. It stores the data not in our database. We have no database actually. We have only it's only an engine. It's only a Java API and an engine you include in your Java application. It runs in the same Java process as your application. And then this engine stores your object graph to any file storage you choose. So, and you can load it from this file storage, the graph and or the diffs, only the diffs lazy back to the memory.
And this file storage is binary.
Yes.
Okay.
No, sorry, it's not binary. It's human readable.
Oh.
So, and you can choose how many files you want to use, how big the files are. So there are many configurations.
So it's similar to H2, right?
Sorry?
Similar to H2 database. The hypersonic, so it also stores in readable SQL statements the files. I mean, this is older, but the concept is similar. It is in memory and dumps these files to a SQL-like readable storage?
I don't know exactly how H2 works under the hood, but what we did is really completely different to all databases which are on the market, because what they do is always the same. They transfer the Java object graph to a different structure, and this is what we didn't want to do. This is the main difference, because all database systems on the market, they have their own data structure, and this is, in our perspective, this is the root of the problem. Because in Java, we do everything with objects, really everything.
So you don't have the impedance mismatch. So what
Right.
you're saying, that you, in your database, you have one-to-one relation between Java object and your internal structure. So there is no translation.
Exactly. There's no translation, and we have no mapping, and we have no Java developers do not have to adapt their classes to our data structure, because our data structure is exactly the same what the JVM does.
Okay.
Stores the Java object graph.
So it's Java native database.
It's yeah. We thought about this name. Yes, it's really a native Java storage engine.
Yeah.
For storing native Java object graphs and loading Java object graphs. And this is actually the only thing what this engine does. It's storing and loading the object graph, and the other stuff is done by the JVM. It's done by Java business logic. So we don't send a query to our database. No, we only load and store object graphs or parts, single parts of the object graph. And then all the other stuff, queries and so on, everything is done in pure Java on the Java side.
So Java 8 streams, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and everything is done in memory. This is the second advantage. It's extremely fast because everything is done by the JVM.
Yeah.
And
a question about your human readable file. So there is one-to-one relation probably between a Java object and a file?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Cool.
And we store it, all the data are added to the file. So it's always transaction safe.
Ah, this is append only. So you have no contention because, oh, okay, interesting.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And when we, what is stored is the object IDs are stored. So we read the object IDs, we get it from the JVM, and we store the IDs. So when we load the data from the file, from files back to the memory, then first of all the IDs are loaded. So you have the entire database index in the memory, and then when you access to single references, then the engine loads the data dynamically from the file. And if you have a memory enough, then you can load the entire database into the RAM.
What I think this is the future, because the RAM gets cheaper and cheaper, and and the storage gets faster and faster. Where I think in future we should actually have everything in memory.
Yes, right. And then we have solved all problems. Then with Jetstream, you can now develop a pure Java database application, which is in the memory. So we don't have to use all the database native stuff. We actually don't want to use it. Java developers don't want to write stored procedures or stored functions and so on. We don't use that stuff. So, and when we are able to have all things in memory, then we can write our database applications completely pure Java, and we don't need a database system for that. We don't have to adapt our classes and our data model to a database structure. So, and then we have a Java in memory paradigm, which allows us to write extremely fast, the fastest applications on the planet, because everything is done by the JVM. When we query a Java object graph, then it's done in microseconds. And
one question.
It
can be transactional, right?
Yes.
Well, it is. So if you so what you can do to integrate it with Java E. So what comes back? It becomes more and more popular are so-called JCA connectors. And what you can do with them is, for instance, the Tommy guys are doing lots of that with JCA, and the Payara people are integrating. I think Tommy or Payara, they integrated even Slack via JCA. So you could actually write a JCA connector. Then the application server will pass to you begin, commit, and rollback, and you will translate it to your own command. So usually almost nothing to do. It will also pass to you the principles and threads, so you know how many parallel connections are going on, and then it's integrated. I mean, then I only would need an interface which is injected and say, hey, Jetstream, here's my object, keep care of it, and then we are actually done, right?
Yes, sounds great.
I send you a link. I've wrote a prototype for file system integration, which is transactionals, like 5 classes, so you can steal the code if you like.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So yeah, this is already online. Connectors.adambean.com. So I will put it to the show notes. So this could be an interesting part. And the next thing is, let's say we are running in somehow cloud like architectures. Then we have a little bit of trouble to store the files, right? So we will have to save the files somewhere in a persistent somewhere, right? So this could be a challenge.
It is, but we have already solved this problem in projects. So
by using shared file systems or Kubernetes, how it is called, persist. I forgot the name. So like in Kubernetes, you can plug in, persistent store. I think this can, you have the same problem as all other databases, because all other databases also have to write files, I mean, at the end of the day. So this is no difference.
Yes.
So there's actually no difference between Postgres and you.
Right.
Because in Postgres, you have one folder and no one talks about the files, but you need, the data folder. And in your case, we talk about the file, but there is no difference.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay, cool. So what I understood, you have a fresh company next month, Jetstream, and this is your product. This is now your new product.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah, this is actually cool.
Yes, it is.
Exciting. And it comes fresh from Bavarian forest, right?
Not exactly from the Bavarian forest, but next to the Bavarian forest.
Yeah, to the listeners, we met, and the Bavarian forest is like German Canada, I would say.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful area, as widely underestimated. So most of the people know Alps, and they are great, but overrun, I would say. But Bavarian forest is, my opinion, is nicer. So I also teased to start a Bavarian forest Java user group or conference, because there are lots of high-tech companies. This is why I ask so many questions. We met already on the JCon conference, and what I told you, I know, in Bavarian forest, there's a company who built the largest walking robot of the world. So you have to do some research on YouTube. Or there is a race car company in Bavarian forest which created a Roding race car from the city of Roding. And now you. So 2 other interesting parts. I did some research because I didn't know you exactly. And I found 2 really interesting things. So the first one is you got contracted by Google. Is it true?
With the contract, no.
Or you work for Google or whatever.
No.
So there is an article in the magazine or somewhere, like you Google work with you or whatever.
Yes. The story is that we started to migrate our Java IDE to Eclipse, and then we had to decide the UI technology. Then we decided to use Vaadin for that, and Vaadin bases on Google. Yes, and the editor of this article, he thought that we are contracted by Google, but he did not understand that we use a Google technology, and we called the project name Google WT Builder. So he thought that we use Google technology, and we are founded by Google and so on.
Okay, this was complete mistake. Okay, this is boring.
Yeah.
But the next one, hopefully, is more interesting. And this is you were TV host, right, on Giga. Is it true?
This is true. Yes.
Yeah, this is incredible. So
I
so
did a
it's
lot
like,
of things the past 20 years.
No,
So
I watched the Giga a little bit back then, and this was like a funky show about gaming and the
Yes.
recent computer stuff, and I didn't knew that there was a dev TV. And you were host. What you did then, and how long you did it?
I was the editor-in-chief of this project.
Wow.
And I did for about 8 months or so, until Giga was was bought by Premiere, and then they finished it.
So whatever you did, it was bought by another company and killed, right?
I'm not responsible that for Sun Microsystems business model and Premiere. So I have nothing to do with that, and I also have nothing to do with the stock at market crashed in the year 2000. So it was not my fault. But yes, the story is true, and we had the idea, or no, it started different. One guy I met at CeBIT at our booth invited me to come to the Giga TV show to introduce our software live on TV.
Cool.
And then I was there, and we had about 30,000 downloads in 40 minutes or so.
Wow.
And my idea was, and I was a businessman, I thought, I need this traffic all the day, every day, all the time. How can I get so many traffic all the day? So we thought about producing our own web designer show on Giga TV. But this was very difficult. It's difficult in Germany because you cannot create a advertising show. It's not allowed here in Germany. It's difficult. You have to market as advertising. So we had the idea, okay, then let's start with a TV computer show, and we called it XDev TV. And then we invited Microsoft, and they introduced the Visual Studio. We invited developers from Eclipse. They introduced Eclipse and
perfect. And was it successful?
It was very successful because we were able to ship our show with on DVD. On computer magazines like Chip and PC World in Germany, and it was about 1 million readers per month, and so it was more successful to ship the show on DVD than live on TV.
This speaks something about live TV, right? Hey, cool. So, and this is incredible, because how I met you approached me 2 years ago, and you asked whether I can speak at a JCon conference. It's like, JCon? What the hell is this? And you are editor of Java Pro magazine. It's like, Java Pro, what's that? And I saw Java Pro somewhere already. And I wanted to come, but you are a salesman. But what you did, you put your conference at the same date as a Java 1. And I already committed to Java 1 and say, no way, I cannot do this, but next year. And then I came to you, and I have to say it was really nice experience. And it was a large conference, I would say. There were lots of attendees. How many were there? How many attendees you had last year?
We had about more than 1,000 people in 3 days.
Yeah, and you did the mistake and gave me a keynote. And if someone gives me a keynote, I have actually no idea what to do. And what I did, I coded the whole time. And I don't know whether you know this, but the people didn't expect probably something else, because I hacked, I don't know what came to mind. And someone from the audience say, hey, what about clouds? And what I knew is that I did in the airplane, I worked for my client. So behind the scenes, I had OpenShift private cloud working. So I said, hey, look, it works. So I switch over to OpenShift. I hack something and deploy. And And after the keynote, people came to me with to take notes and say, what was it? Why it was so fast? It was incredible. What you did? I was like, I did all the time. It's just, I mean, what I did is I just created a small, war and push it to the, what is war? And they were like people who never saw Java E before.
Really?
Yeah. And they wrote notes and they say, this is incredible. I will have to try out where to find the links. I was like, yeah, way to find it. As a search for, which servers should I choose? Like Whitefly, Open Liberty, Payara, Tommy, all are great. Oh, really? And they wrote down everything. So for me, it was like,
great.
I was the rock star by showing, Java E.
This was my plan.
Yeah, this was, and still, it's like, this was the first time, like, you're showing Java E, and they say, what was it? What alien technology is it? This was a funny experience. And it was and two of your attendees, they had questions, and they follow me until the taxi because they wanted to write down all the links, what I did on stage.
Yeah, we create rock stars.
Yeah, with Java E. With Java E. This is interesting, not with, reactive extensions, Kubernetes, cloud native, rather than, with technology which are 20 years old.
Yeah.
Cool. So, this year, there will be also JCon. And you invited me already, so I will also deliver a keynote or session, whatever you like. It will be chaos again, and you expect even more attendees.
Yeah, hopefully. I guess we will grow again. So we expect about 1,500 people for this year.
Düsseldorf again.
It's in Düsseldorf again. It's again in the Cinemax. It's again in the multiplex cinema, and it's a great environment for the attendees and as well for the speakers, because we have these large cinema screens and where the attendees can watch coding from the last row. So even at Java 1, often you have rooms with screens which are too small, and you are in a 10th row, and you cannot watch the coding. You only can listen to the coding, to the live coding, and this is in my perspective is very boring to listen to your coding. I want to watch you coding.
But you had lots of live coders? Or?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
This is nice.
We want them to code, really to code, and not showing too much slides.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you are stealing my ideas.
Yeah.
Very good.
I adapted.
You are a salesman.
Exactly.
Very good. And what you also do, you have a Java Pro magazine, and this is free, right?
Yes, this is the very first physical Java magazine.
Physical means paper. It looks beautiful.
Print, yes.
Yeah, and it's nice, and it's also interesting business model.
This is not a business model. It's more a community project. So it works similar to open source foundation. It's financed by companies who support this model, who want to contribute and to the community, and we get some money for them to produce it. And any Java developers can write articles and can send their articles. We have a lot of people from the community, from the German Java community, who write articles and are speakers at the conference, at the JCon conference. And we want to give all Java developers the possibility to write articles and publish there on the Java magazine at so this is the idea, and this is not really a business model, but we have to finance it. That's the reason why we have sponsors, so like Oracle or XDev or other companies like Red Hat and so on. And so we don't need to sell advertising, which is hard, and don't have to sell the magazine. Because in Germany, it's if you buy a magazine, then you have to pay 5 until 13, 15 euros. So it's very expensive to read 1, 2, 3, or 5 articles who are interesting for you. So it's it's more easy to shift a completely free magazine and finance it with sponsors. So it works really similar like the Eclipse Foundation, for example.
Yeah,
The Eclipse
cool
Foundation
idea.
is it's
And
it was
this
the
was
idea.
your idea?
I had the idea, and we talked to different people from the community, and we finalized the idea with these people from the community.
Yeah.
And also Wolfgang Weigand from Oracle was involved. I asked him, and he advised us how to do it, and so on. It was
cool.
an interesting process, and it's also very successful. We have now about 8,500 readers. We produce about 12,000 issues, and yeah, it's really successful. And this is the reason why the JCon conferences grows. And I think it's a very cool concept for developers in the community.
Very good. When was your first Java one? You remember that? Very first?
It's about 10 years ago.
Okay. Was it Sun or Oracle?
It was Sun.
Okay. So now we met at Oracle Code. It was the first renamed Java one, right? So we had a short chat. What is your impression of Oracle Code? And was it a good move to rename it from Java 1 to Oracle Code?
My impression was they didn't change too much. I didn't see the difference. But there were a lot of different talks with different content. For example, more cloud and more different technologies. The previous Java one was special focused on Java development and maybe some JavaScripting, but they change it more and more to native cloud development, which I can understand the concept, and because Oracle pushes the cloud native stuff. They want to push their cloud services, and so they want to open their huge conference to several technologies.
Yeah, we'll see whether it will work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think the community, it was not good for the community. The community prefers a Java only conference. This is my opinion.
Yeah, this is also my opinion because the Java one was already loaded with Java content.
Yeah.
Now let's imagine we get Oracle code, and let's imagine we have the same content in Java in 10 other languages. So then you are not even able, to consume, let's say, 10% of the overall content if you are on site. Then it is actually pointless to going to the conference, because the only chance to see what's going on is, to take vacations and listen nonstop YouTube all the talks to see what's going on. So for me, it would be better, multiple targeted conferences like Oracle or let's say Java 1, JavaScript 1, what they have, Go 1, Rust 1, and whatever. And they could have, like a top conference name, Oracle Code, and then split it to different targeted conferences, because I don't even know what I would do. Let's say I attended a lot of talks, Java talks, and let's say I would be interested in JavaScript or something else on top of that. So I don't even know where were the talks. I know this is like, so I'm really curious how it will work. Let's see what happens.
I agree.
Yeah, and the next thing is what always happened at Java 1. I met lots of developers on Java 1, and I had a chat with them several times. They were from large US companies, and they were like corporate US developers who program large systems. And I guess they won't come anymore. At least I didn't saw them again now at Oracle Code. And because I think they got the tickets to go to Java 1 because of the Java and the 1. And now this is like Oracle Code becomes one another conference. So there is no more distinction between Oracle code and the other conferences. This is just, it's a pity from Oracle because they had something which was unique and now they don't have it anymore.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Maybe we can push the JCon conference. And
you are a salesman. I saw already JCon 1.
Then it would be necessary to have all the Java managers from Oracle to come to the JCon conference.
Yes, and it should be in Bavarian Forest.
Yeah, then we have to move.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you.
But then we have problems with the infrastructure.
Where people can find you on the internet? Do you have links to your Jetstream stuff?
Sure.
Yeah. So let's go ahead.
It's jetstreamdb.com.
Yes.
And
Twitter account or?
Yeah, it's also on Twitter at jetstreamdb.
And you? Are you somewhere?
Yeah,
Marcus
on
Cat.
Marcus Cat.
Okay.
On Twitter.
Yes. And if you have some interesting links regarding Jetstream, JPA, SQL, or whatever you have,
yes.
I will put them to show notes. So send me via email and yeah.
Sure.
So I wish all the best with Jetstream. Really interesting product. I will review this one time and see you at least at JCon. And I don't know whether you will attend the Oracle Code. I'm still not sure, but why not? Let's see. But JCon, at least at the JCon, right, in autumn. When is it? You know it already?
It's in September, 24 to 26.
Okay.
And it's 1 week before Oracle Code 1 in San Francisco.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Very good. So if you would like to see the Java stuff, come to JCon and Oracle Code, everything else. Right?
Yeah, great.
So thank you
very much.
And bye.
Bye, Adam.